Welcome to Cooperville.
Do you know what's fun to do in Cooperville? Pack up your shit and get the fuck out!
Listen. www.welcometocooperville.com. Who the fuck says www anymore? I can't even say it. www. Stop that. The Welcome to Cooperville podcast. On demand anywhere quality podcasts are available. And some places where cheap podcasts are available.
And the local gas station has some.
Subscribe, get updates, feel better about your life. Welcome to Cooperville.com. Check.
Welcome to Cooperville! Make sure you use a coaster. The wife gets upset when we leave rings on the tables.
We're rolling. So Eric and I go back many a year, many a cocktail. I don't know if we ever got arrested together, but I think separately.
Yeah, definitely separately, and maybe at the same place.
It could have been. We could have been in the same, confines and just different officers. Eric Bloatright, Shallow Side, my guest on the Welcome to Cooperville podcast. How you doing, man?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Dude.
Always been a big fan. And now that you're rocking all this stuff, glad to be a part of it.
Likewise, man. Always been a fan. And I'm trying to grow the beard out. You see that? Like this?
I do see that.
Yeah.
I'm noticing the beard. It looks good.
You're my inspiration.
Stop.
The ginger beard army, man. It's led by Eric.
Yes.
Alabama chapter. Oh, it's awesome. But how are things, man? Things good? Things good on your end?
Things have been great. We've been super busy over this past week, actually. We've had 8 consecutive shows in a row. Which is always great. I'd rather be on than off, but it's always good to catch a rest every once in a while. My voice is super tired. I don't know if you can hear it. But we've been busy and we've been at it. There's been a few bumps in the road recently, a couple of hiccups, but we're getting the wheels turning again and getting everything back to where they should be.
Did I hear a new album? Is that the word on the street?
New album in July.
Oof.
Full length too. It's going to be a full length and not just the regular EP version of what we have been doing. This time we sat down and really blazed out a full length, and a lot of the fans already have it, and they love it. So it's great, especially for our direct fan base that already has it. The reviews that came back directly from them, which personally are the reviews that count the most to me,
right?
And they love it, which they have taken particularly to 2 slower songs that are on the album. They love those the most, which kind of makes me question a lot of stuff, because I'm like, wait a minute, this is like a hard rock band, and they're like, oh, we love those ballads. We want the ballads.
We love the love, man. We want
love
to feel the love. And how cool that is a process now, because back in the day, that didn't used to be a thing. The album came out when the album came out, but now having an opportunity to, direct, your sound and your album directly to your fan base, that's got to be a cool new avenue for you guys to be able to pursue.
Yeah, well, we kind of write music and we produce music for ourselves and things that we enjoy. And luckily, because of social media and the way the technology has went, we're able to also cater to the same people that are just like we are. And we notice that most of the people that are just like we are, they're up, Monday through Friday, busting their ass, working, making ends meet. A lot of it's blue collar. Some of it's white collar, but we make those kids pay for things. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. We noticed that a lot of people that are the fan base or the family of Shallow Side, it's really just like hard-working, dedicated humans, and some of them are not even rock and roll fans. They're not directly even related or even into rock and roll music, and we are their segue, from either be it country music or maybe even some like alternative pop music, and there we are. We sit right in kind of on the fence line for a lot of different genres, just by the way that we just by the people that we are, and that's what it attracts. So yeah, it is pretty cool to be able to, dive in and create something that we enjoy, and then the fan base that we've created turns around and looks back and gives us that validation.
What do you think makes that connection, with that type of audience? Obviously one that's very broad, that can be, your blue collar working class. Why do you think that connection exists between Shallow Side and that fan base? I mean, obviously you guys have a very hardworking sound and attitude. I think, as you mentioned, that this is the band. The band is real, and you write about real stuff and real life. And is that kind of what connects you to that kind of fan base who is, kind of strolls on those same streams?
I think what started it initially was when we started touring.
Mm-hmm.
See, when we first started as a band, we didn't really know how to tour. We didn't know really even how to book the shows, but we had sectioned off, Thursday to Sundays, Wednesday to Sundays, where we could play shows and take a couple of days off and then continue to play shows, take a couple of days off. And we were in a Suburban. So we all kind of like quit our jobs and took off on this quote unquote tour. And they were virtually dive bars here and there that would pay us like, $50 and give us a meal, or some of them wouldn't pay us at all, but they'd still give us a meal. And for that, for us, that was cool enough.
Right.
And we would sell merch, to get gas money to get to the next city. But we did that for about a year, like a solid year. I'm talking about, we would play like 250 shows. And sometimes we would play a show, pack up because we were the opening band, and we'd leave and go to the next bar, and we'd be the third band on the bill. And then we'd leave and go to the next bar 3 nights in a row, or 3 shows in one night. And we'd be the closing band to play from 2 a.m. till 4 a.m. or whatever the closing time was at the bar, and we did that for a solid year. And the fan base that we brought in from that particularly are the people that mostly have stuck with us throughout, and their attitudes have grown. Other fans, other friends, other family members that are a part of it. And I think that's really where it stems from, has been a grassroots base. We didn't really break into the radio scene or a national scene, or the visualization of a national scene until we were about 3 or 4 years into, being a rock band. So a lot of the stuff that we did was all grassrooted. And it wasn't because we were like, well, screw the radio system, we don't need that world, or right. We don't need social media to help us along. We generally just didn't know. We had no clue. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just playing music, and it was fun for us. And we took that and continued to roll with it, and it's just grew organically. I think that's the best way to put it.
Learning on the fly.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of learning on the fly for sure.
It's the old fake it till you make it scenario. Like, we'll figure it out. I'm sure there's a methodology to this. We just haven't quite got there yet.
Exactly.
Now, when I take you back to before the band started, and where did music, the influence of music first interject itself into your life that you decided that this passion, this drive, this creativity is worth giving up my job, living in a Suburban with some dudes?
Yeah.
Like, this seems like a really good idea, and kind of because it's a struggle. I mean, obviously you guys have been through the struggles of the road and the struggles of trying to, make this be a full-time gig. At what point, what got you to a point where you're like, you know what, I'm fucking rolling the dice and going for it, hell or high water?
Yeah. Well, for me personally, it was. Music introduced itself to me through church. I was in church. I did a lot of the youth group stuff. So around 11 or 12, I'm really diving into my own personal taste of music. 9 till 11 years old, I'm a 3rd grade or something like that. I'm starting to figure out that I don't have to listen to Conway Twitty anymore. There's other music out there that isn't the redone Elvis versions of it. So so I'm like, I'm digging around, and luckily that honestly wasn't the case for me. My dad listened to a lot of storytelling type folk songs. My mom listened to a lot of heavy country, and my grandmother listened to a lot of gospel stuff. And then I accidentally ran into Motown. God only knows how that was like plopped down in my lap, but like when I found it, it struck some chords with my soul. I was like, yo, this is fun. I love this stuff. And then eventually I found hip hop, which led me to rock and roll. And so we're about 11 years old at this point, and I'm starting to find that rock and roll is also in church. So Thousand Foot Crutch, I found that band. Wasn't long after Thousand Foot Crutch, Skillet kind of started to make a move on the market. Flyleaf was in the same realm of that world. And then there's a couple other Christian acts that I thought was like, this is good enough. I couldn't ever get into like the praise and worship stuff. It was like way too repetitive. I need a story.
Right.
I need to feel the conviction. I don't need to be massaged into it. I want to really
hear it again.
Yeah. So those things kind of took me into finding jobs, and so there I am, 15 years old, and I'm looking for a job. I didn't grow up with money. I was selling drugs. When I say selling drugs, I wasn't really selling drugs. I was stealing Xanaxes from a couple of people that I knew that had Xanaxes, and I would sell those things for like $5 a pill. And then I would like find a handful of weed somewhere, and I would sell that stuff. And I wasn't like, yo, I'm straight trapping to get my bitches these monies. You
went gangsta.
I was paying for lunch. I was paying for lunch at school, and I was saving up money to buy a vehicle, because I mean that wasn't going to be a layup. It wasn't going to be like, oh, my parents are going to provide these things like that, and it wasn't because they didn't want to. I mean, those things happen. We're all given different circumstances in life. Mine happened to be a financial struggle, which God only knows why I chose music, because
you wanted to keep struggling.
Yeah, that is not the way to get rich and famous. But then again, so I'm right there searching for jobs, and I get a job at insert fast food here. And I've worked at all of them: Arby's, Burger King, Jack's Restaurant, which you guys don't have that up north, but it's delicious. I've worked at McDonald's, Subway, like you name it, I have done it, all the way into all restaurants, like Ruby Tuesdays, TGI Fridays, Olive Garden. I've worked at O'Charlie's, Red Lobster. I've been at all of them, and I sucked. Like I was not good at it, and I couldn't become passionate about it, which is another thing that I learned early in my life, that if I don't love it, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. Like I'm just not. I'm gonna clean my hands. I'm gonna walk away. I'm going to give my thanks. I'm not going to be an asshole about it, but I'm just not going to try to waste everyone's time for a paycheck. Money, I didn't grow up with it, so like I've been without it for a very, very long time. I figured out ways that I could just make life happen and not have the currency that's typically needed. And that kind of started to spiral into different jobs. I was like, all right, well, obviously food's not my way. I'll go work at a call center. Bad idea, because also I got a very, very short temper and nearly a piss poor attitude when it comes to people with a bad mouth. So if you're on a call center and the first thing you hear is, hi, good evening, my name is Eric, I'm with, get off the damn phone. Excuse me, you piece of shit. What I was trying to say was, so it didn't take me long to realize that wasn't my direction. I built houses. I did concrete work. I did roofing work, all kinds of construction work. I mean, you name it, I kind of did it all. And then around 18, 19 years old, I'm still like passionately into music, not just your regular, like, oh yeah, I love music when I go run, when I go work out,
Right.
when I'm driving in my car, I like to blast that music. Like, I was the kid with the headphones on, straight mad when a band postponed the release of their new album, because I'm there 30 minutes before it's supposed to hit the shelves, and I'm like, here we go, it's about to happen.
Fucking on now,
I'm
man.
ready for this 55 minutes to change my life. And that was who I was.
Right.
And then Heath, our drummer, Seth, our guitar player, we're wrapping up high school, and these two kids, they're over there, and they're jamming Chevelle, and they're playing Tool songs, and they're playing Breaking Benjamin, anything that they can play, Shinedown, and they're just jamming it, and it's just them, and there's no singing going on to it. And I didn't know that I could sing at this time. Better yet, I didn't know that everyone couldn't sing. I just thought it was something that we all did.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a voice.
It's just part of your arsenal.
Yeah. I had no clue that what I was capable of was singing. I thought we could all sing. When I went to church and the church started the hymnal, we were all singing. Everyone was. And some people would get up there and do like the solo type stuff, which was always great. You'd never hear someone get up there and completely beef it. So I was like, yo, we can all do this. Yeah. This is cool. So initially I just grabbed up the microphone while they were jamming one day, and I'm singing the songs that I love, by Tool, by Chevelle, Shinedown, Breaking Benjamin, like you name it. Like we're doing the post grunge era rock and roll. It's 2005, I don't know, 2008 or somewhere around there. And I'm jamming all these songs and I'm singing them, and now we're creating like these practices, and these parties are starting to develop. And now it's after school, and there's 35 people over at Heath's house, and we're jamming out to some rock and roll music, and it's just us. And his parents were mad about it, so we're like, all right, well, we need to take it over here. That 35 people turned into 65 people real fast when we pulled up at this random location and started playing some rock and roll music. And we're like, yo, and we got some beer, and we got a little bit of weed to smoke on. Let's get it popping. And then there we go. We're rolling at this point, and we're playing random parties. It seemed like every weekend there was another parent's house that was out on vacation, and we were taking over, and that started spiraling into 200 kids, and the cops would show up before we were, because MySpace was at its peak. I think Facebook was really starting to get its growth at that time, and we're posting about this stuff. We're like, hey, come over to Markham's house, we're all partying over here. And then the cops would show up first. And we get there, and they're waiting, and we're like, oh, wait. And one of the guys pulls me to the side, and he was like, listen, man, I get what you're doing, but you got to do this at a bar. It's like, you got to do this at a music venue. You have to do it. And like, there was a police officer literally pulled me to the side, and he was like, this is the business model that you're trying to create. You're going down the wrong path. Just adjust it, find yourself, move on. So we found a venue, and we threw this party. And you couldn't drink because it was a venue, and it's an actual event. You know what I mean? So everyone's out in the parking lot getting trashed.
Of course.
And then they find their way in, and we do a tally at the end of the night, and there's 500 people that came through the door that night. And this was our first show as a band, and we was like, this is fun. I love this. And none of us had been drinking at all. And I'm looking around, and we're all sober, and obviously sober. We're kids at this point too, 19, 20 years old. And we're looking around like, I would love to do this. This would be cool. Yeah. If we could do what we love and figure out how to pay some bills, if I could not have to hustle in any other direction except for my passion and my conviction, I would much rather do that for the rest of my life than to end up on the same treadmill as my parents and their parents. If I could find a way to break the mold, and if nothing else, I'm just happy. That's going to make the difference for me. And it was right then and there, around that moment, that I was like, this is something that I want to do. I'm going to pursue it at all costs. And then we took that thing into working our job as much as we could and playing music as much as we could, to where playing shows and showing up to work started conflicting with each other, and the pay started conflicting with each other. And we was like, all right, so we can do this now. Let's jump. Yeah. And we literally, and I say that a lot in our shows, we loaded up everything that we had in our backpack and we took off. And that's really where Shallow Side kind of got its roots and started from. And not knowing then how to even put on a show, we would call these bars in advance, and we'd jump on, and that's how we would roll for the next couple of years. That's how we would do it.
When you first decided to make that jump, to say, this is my sole focus, this is my purpose in life, money, happiness, I think happiness is its own currency.
Yep.
But when you decide to make that choice, all right, side jobs, whatever you're doing at the time, be damned. We're solely focused on this. We're doing shows. We're a band. This is our job now. How much pushback comes from, your circle, family, friends that maybe at the time, can support for so long, this is really cool. You guys are really talented playing these shows and working, but when you get to the point where you're like, no, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to, begrudging to, like you mentioned, the treadmill, but my life's mission is to get a job and then work that job, even if I hate it, but I hate it, but it pays the bills and it keeps the lights on, it keeps us fed. But that's a pretty big leap to take, to go off and be like, this is my passion. This is what I'm going to do. How much pushback comes from family, or not pushback, maybe that's not the right phrase, but like, you sure, like, this is crazy. This is wild. Like, you read about this shit.
It was strange. It was definitely strange, to say the least. It was extremely weird. And why it was weird was because everyone in the close and distant circle loved it. Absolutely loved it. They had the best time. They had so much fun. Our friends, our family was showing up to these things, and we were doing it every weekend, and it was a blast. Everyone was like, yes, this is exactly what you should be doing. We're all having a great time. And then we were like, now we're going to try to do this professionally. And they were all like, no, you can't do that. What are you even talking about? That's not even a reality. That's so stupid. Like, how could you think that you're going to make it? And like that was around the particular time that I created a make it scenario. If I could pay my bills, if I could be respected as a gentleman, as a man, pay my bills and do what's right for, my fellow man, and the people that I'm constantly in contact with, if I can be a beacon of hope for them, with always being able to pay my bills, which I've lived very, very minimalistically because of that, then I've made it. So we're just now catching on to a big radio wave. We're just now catching on to a larger light in the national scene. And dude, I made it years ago. I made it a while back. Yeah. So there's like, I can take this away from me. No one else can. No one else was able to do that. But to go back, it was the strangest thing, because we were being championed by everybody. They were like, this is the one. This is my team. I love this band. I love what they got going on. I love their original songs, which were horrible at the time. I love their cover songs, which were also kind of weird at the time. We did like a cover of what is it? Blue Monday by
Orgy.
Oyster.
Blue Oyster.
Yeah. No. But it was Blue Monday by Orgy, which was also a cover by, I forget who did the original. Anyway,
yes.
Terrible. Can't believe we did it. But
how does it feel?
Yes. the pushback that we got from that was it was so, I was so weirded out by that, because it was one moment you were the best sex that anyone's ever had, and then they turned around and was like, you got a little dick. Wait, what are you talking about?
But you just said,
yeah, I thought you loved me. But
good analogy.
It was extremely strange, but it also gave what I feel like it was the necessary motivation to hold my middle finger up and just be like, you know what, I'm rocking this thing. I'm gonna continue to push forward. It's and I can easily not make it. There's thousands that never make it, never get close to failing on a tour. You know what I mean? Like they don't get to the first step of losing, and those guys never make it there. And I was completely fine with if I shot my shot and never was able to pay my bills. I could have tipped my hat. I could have went and done, anything else at that point. But if I didn't ever take that shot, I think that was the most terrifying, most horrifying feeling, was you got this one chance to jump. Are you going to take it? And a lot of people were like, that's crazy. You should not take that. You'll fail and it'll hurt. Yeah. And I kept thinking, if I don't fail, I'm going to hurt forever.
Yeah.
I can hurt tomorrow for a little bit, but if I don't at least attempt it, I may hurt forever. And that's something that I don't know that, honestly, if I would be alive today or not in jail, because I mean those are the routes where I was going, man. Like I was headed down, death or jail very, very quickly. And the reason I say that, and a lot of people do, and the thing that makes it a reality for me is that my close family members directly headed that way. And that was my chosen path, man. Like if I wasn't working that grueling, bone crunching 9 to 5, or 6 to 6, whatever it was for that job Monday through Friday, I was going to become an addict and end up dead or in jail. Those are my choices. And music kind of slowly, quietly in the back of the room raised his hand, and I was like, I'm gonna go with you.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I think a lot of the throughout the backstory of the band and getting to take the shot and going up against the people that were there in the front row cheering to you, saying, hey man, I'm taking the shot, I'm going for it. And the hesitation that they had, obviously, a lot of people do that as a protection. I think because they don't want to see you get hurt, and right. your feelings are fragile, Eric. Your feelings are fragile. We don't want you to have somebody turn you down. But I think it all circles back to when you talked about, this band writes and performs songs that are legit about their life, about their existence, about the things you've gone through. I think the song Rebel, I mean, I think I almost heard that song was just written in that story that you told, because of the pushback that you got, but rising above and going through it, and the paths that were laid out before you. If you didn't take, the route of music or grab its hand when it was in the back saying, hey, I'm here, I think you should gravitate this way. And you've been able to, like you said, you're paying the bills, and that is what you had your sights set on, for this mission. A couple of years back, you were in my studio, and you said, I had a baby. And I said, well, you look great for just having a baby. Joking aside. But a lot of times, and this is, to be on the path that you guys were on, having some radio success, the cover of Renegade, I think was awesome. I know you guys got some, some accolades from Styx on that, which had to be one of the biggest pats on the back that anybody can get when you do a cover song like that.
Definitely.
But when you throw, hey, I just had a baby into that mix, sometimes that can be that I don't want to say deterrent, but it adds this whole other level of like, shit. It goes back to that American dream scenario or the typical treadmill scenario where, okay, now I have to do the 9 to 5. I have to work this job because it's consistent and I'm home and I can be a part of it. Because kids, and I'm not even on the road doing shallow side stuff, but man, kids will fuck you up. Like it's legit, like everything.
Absolutely.
How much has that, having a child in your life, grown you as not only a man, but as an artist too, because you do have to add that new element into really everything that you do. And I'm assuming it affects not just songwriting, but how many dates on tour you want to be gone on. So how have you been able to adjust to dad life? #dad life.
Yeah, #dad life, and #dad bod, because I have still not recovered from my pregnancy.
I don't know, man. I saw pictures of you in the skinny jeans rocking a fanny pack the other day, so I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, maybe that just doubled down on the dad bod thing. I'm like, that motherfucker's wearing a fanny pack. But
there was hot dogs in it too, so like it was just lunch. I was just carrying lunch.
Like, hang on a second, you call me, bro? I'm just gonna grab a bite here.
Yeah, go real quick.
1 second.
It's having a child really is, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. Like it's a gift. It truly is a gift. And if there are people out there that do not treat it as a gift, and that's sad. But for me, and luckily for me, and a lot of people also don't get this, which I've been extremely fortunate, and I don't know how to sing their praises or her praises high enough, but the support system that I have at home, my Marcy, is literally the anchor to my entire existence. If I did not have my family at home, and when I say family, I just directly mean Marcy, if it wasn't for her, I could not be the piece of shit that I am today. Like without that human singularly, I could not be, well, anything. She found me at a very low place in life and brought me into fatherhood, man. Yeah. She took me straight in. I remember when I've always had this like really odd commitment problem, and she forced me into getting a cell phone bill to where it was our cell phone bill. And later would find out, unbeknownst to me at the time, that it would be my cell phone bill that she would be on. I don't know. She swindled me.
I was going to say, that's some dealings right there. She good. Yeah. She good.
She swindled me. She's way smarter than me, way out of my league, and that's a fact. But, she pushed me in the right directions and made me a better man. And then gave me a daughter, which made me realize that a lot of things that I was trying to shoot for did not matter. They did not matter. At one point, I was trying desperately to be a part of the headline, a part of the story that's at a constant, to be in the limelight constantly, like look at me. And when I had her, or when we had her, that all took a turn of what is your story? Tell me your story, because I have this platform now, and I've developed this platform to where I can tell your story. Your story means a lot. Give me the conviction. I don't want the fake reality. I don't want to look like the perception is bigger than what it is, because those things really, they don't matter. What does matter is the time that we have, and the time that we have together, and the story that we're able to create together. 100 years from now, dude, like our names may not mean anything at all, but if we don't figure out how to make it better for each other, we might have never even needed to exist, which I think is the most interesting aspect of having a child. I was able to understand that, like, we're a blip. Yeah. I look at her and I realize that, like, I was there. That was me, and she has no clue about anything. And to which, like, at 20 years old, I was like, I know everything. Fast forward 8 years later, I feel like I know nothing.
Yeah.
And then I have a kid, and I realize she has no clue about what anything is. And I'm looking around like, now I'm my father, and I don't know what I'm doing. So like, he didn't know what he was doing. So our best opportunity in life is time with each other, just to make it a little bit better. And I think that was the biggest thing that changed for us. I do take a lot more time off from touring now, but when we tour, we pack those things in.
Right.
Like we're 7 days on, 2 days off, 10 days on, 1 day off, back home.
Yeah.
And there's no off times. There's no gambling times. We're not trying to, and which we do. We're there to have a good time. We're there to party. We're gonna have a couple of drinks. We're gonna make it a fun event, guaranteed, because we're doing what we love. Like, how could you not? And the people that are showing up love what we do. So like, absolutely, it's going to be a fun event. But those events are packed in close, and we make it happen so we can make time for the family that's back at home.
That's awesome, and I think having that support system back at home, especially in the career path that you've been blessed to be a part of, without that, I don't think it works. I don't think the functionality is. It may work for a while, but I think at some point, the wheels fall off, and you end up maybe resorting back to that path that was there set up for you before music interjected itself into your life. I was thinking about this mostly because you mentioned Heath's name, and when I first met you guys the second time, like Heath was in like a full body cast or some shit. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, the kid needs one.
Yeah, and so I thought about sending you guys because I passed one at a business the other day where it was like, it has been 742 days since we've had an accident at this location. They can dry a race board. I was thinking about getting one of those for you guys, just for Heath, so that anytime he gets injured, you can just keep the tally going.
We definitely need one.
But you guys have not, have gone through, and a lot of bands do this. They go through changes with members and stuff like that. But do you feel like right now, like you guys are just hitting on all cylinders with the group that you have, and like this is the strongest point that the band has been in its existence?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. The band, physically, emotionally, directionally, we are the strongest that we've ever been. And I didn't realize that we even had weak points before. Mm-hmm. And not to take away from what those guys did in the beginning, because they were, huge influences, and they were also, strong legs to help pedal the bicycle that we were on to go forward. We were fortunate enough that when we had lost a member, another was soul searching for himself, and that's Matt, our bass player now. He was, really looking at the same direction that we were, and we happened to cross paths. And I think that was divine intervention that was given to us, because, following up probably about 8 months after we grabbed Matt up from Chicago, we landed in Elvis Basket's studio, writing what I believe is the best collection of music that we've put out to date. There were times where we definitely struggled physically. Like you said, Heath, one time he got his thumb bitten off by a snapping turtle. It wasn't long after that thing, and he had to have surgery on that thing, and had I don't know if I say it right, cadaver. Like
a dead deceased person's
a dead person's piece of thumb. That guy happened to be from San Francisco, and now Heath walks around with his thumb up his ass all day. But that's a whole different story. He, not long after that, Heath actually shattered his collarbone to where he couldn't pick his arm up. And the one singular motion a drummer needs is to just hammer down. That's all it needs. And he couldn't do that. Following that, I had a head injury that landed me in the trauma unit for 2 days. I had bleeding on the brain and everything. And those things all kind of led to a place where we were able to sit back and write the story which Sound the Alarm is out everywhere now. It's out, available anywhere music is, and that was the song that I wrote about my injury and about a lot of the stuff that we've already talked about here. Is the first words in the chorus of the song, "Why not live life on the edge? There's no one stopping us now." So that's where that whole thing, kind of steps up and takes place. And I honestly believe, and if you come to see a show now versus where it was, the show it's so much more impactful.
Well, that's awesome, man. You got to feel, I think every journey that any musician goes on or any human goes on, there's going to be those trials and tribulations. I think how you come out on the other side, because you're going to experience those things. Not many can say they had their thumb bitten off by a snapping turtle. That's true, but
not a bunch.
Like 7. But I think you when you come out on the other side of it stronger, better, faster, more energetic, and you learn from it, that only leads to that next step being a bigger one and a farther one. And I think that's kind of the story that you've told over the last hour of this podcast, is that you've encountered challenges and you've encountered things personally with the band, in life, but yet here you are on my podcast, which, I mean, does it get any bigger than this? I mean,
it really doesn't get any better or bigger. I'll go for that.
This is the top of Everest right here. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, it's really cool to find driven individuals who, again, hell or high water, your passion is what it is, and it will continue no matter what happens, no matter what gets thrown in front of you. You learn from it, and then you move on to the next thing. And that's it's an awesome story, man. And I'm proud to have been able to hear it firsthand.
Well, yeah, man. I appreciate your friendship, man. Like, when was it? When did we first meet? Like 3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 or 4. It was. I think Rebel was already out.
Oh, yeah. So Rebel had just dropped.
Yeah.
And okay, yeah. So I remember walking into the radio station. One of the first radio stations that we walked into too, and was invited in, and the energy that you brought there. It's moments like that that's also keeping a lot of musicians going. It's like that. It's the passion that we draw from the people who are embedded in the industry. Those things make a difference for us.
Well, I'm doing my best to keep my footprint on the industry as much as I can, because a lot of the friends that I made, along the way, like you guys, I mean, this is still, we're still trying to fight the good fight. I think radio in itself has its own set of challenges that I'm no longer beholden to. How about we put it that way?
I like that, though.
And the freedoms and liberties that I have now, and my story continues, and as much as I can tell your stories and having this platform to be able to do it, I mean, I think that's a win-win for everybody, and I'm happy to do it.
Hell yeah.
Heels, yeah. Eric Bloatright, my friend, Shallow Side. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you for letting me be here.
Dude, next time you're in town, let's get on the hang.
Let's do it.
I'll stay out of as much trouble as we can.
No way.
There's not many snapping turtles up here. Tell Heath you should be okay.
We'll bring you one. We'll let you see how big they are down south.
Great. And I'll have to go to that. What is it? Jack's Burgers. What do I have to go to?
Jack's Hamburgers.
Jack's Hamburgers. Okay.
Stuff. It's beast. It's good.
Next time I make the trip, man, I'll come find you.
All right, deal.
Be well, brother.